essential science to it.
Although that spaceship was kind of homemade
I know.
by millionaires, but
Yeah.
Better than a tin can.
I'm sorry, I didn't do the Titan. That's him.
Yeah.
Come here.
Yeah, yeah, really.
Come up here. Come on.
that was the safest boat on the water.
Titanic.
God himself could think this shit.
Right.
So far down,
Right.
the water pressure just.
We went to crush the, out in Chicago, there's the, club you could go on.
Well, I don't know that we can accommodate
Yeah.
Yeah, a
cruises
couple
there.
people drove in
Those
with
are
me,
so
at
like.
least one, if not two.
Yeah.
If you wanna wait,
And then
hold
like
it
you
in
could
it.
hear, like they play like audio and stuff, like you can know what you would hear down there. And I think that to me would be the hardest thing to see.
Oh,
You can't see outside the door. Literal.
you'd have a panic attack. He has a panic attack when he's not closed in a little.
I think just the again, the mental preparedness for, I think I'm trying to hurt the person's baby.
Big girl. Morning, Tony.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The announcements were that there's a dinner Wednesday evening. We have no idea what we're eating, but there'll be food here, so come and eat. The other announcements, Catherine's supposed to be home, I believe it's Tuesday. It's on my calendar to go pick her up, so if I remember to look, I'll get her back. No other announcements.
Homecoming.
Oh, yeah.
Homecoming is
Is that 2
October,
weeks?
the first Sunday in
Yep.
October.
So,
So we got a speaker and we got a music person.
All we need is people and food.
Virginia sent out the invitation, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Virginia sent out the invitations.
Mhm.
Did you all get one? Email. Okay. Let's bow in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, as we do come together this morning, help us center ourselves down to listen to your guidance and your words. And as we leave here today, we take you with us, and we know we can touch and talk to you at any time. And we are so grateful to have you in our lives. Amen. Let's turn to page 493. Yeah, 493. It's where I opened the book to. And if you want to stand, you can. If you don't, that's okay. Two out of
So he's
five.
set the
Violet, yeah. Violet got up too. Violet's mother got up too.
Oh. That's considered. there's some other issues, but. No.
No.
The only shouldn't be right here. Well, the rest of us were at Sunday school.
Talking to
Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning.
What's your middle name, David? David Thomas. David Allen. Is that right? David Allen. Say that. That's not automatic, you know, use your middle name.
No, you're not grandfathered.
I know.
I would be very upset.
Carla was like, oh, he is coming now.
I'm glad it's.
Now I know his middle name. I said, now when I use the middle name, he'll know.
No, you're in trouble, huh?
Possibly.
So what's your middle name? Middle name?
David Allen, yeah, that is a good name. And you're, don't tell me, Janet Ann.
Sue.
Janet Sue.
Nancy. Okay, so my mom's name is Janet and her sister's name is Sue.
Oh, Janet Sue.
There you go.
Whipped.
I know, so.
Nancy.
So we're sharing all names with yours?
Nancy and.
And her other sister's name is
My
Ann.
name is Lee.
And her other sister's name is Ann.
You've gotta be
And
kidding.
my mom's other sister's name is Ann. So,
Four letters.
Those are weird middle names that are bizarre or came.
I don't know.
One of the Bible characters was Adam Joseph. You know, if Adam and Eve had a last
Does
name.
Jesus have a name, middle name? Jesus.
No, no.
Don't sound like he ought to be James.
Uh-huh. His brother was James.
Yeah, with James in his family, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the coworker, his first name was Taz. And I said, what's that short for? He goes, nothing, it's it, Taz. That's his name, it's T-A-Z. Not short for anybody.
I know, some people did that with their kids, just short. He had a family member that was A.C. and the A and
Just
C.
Jesse.
stood
that's
for
just it.
nothing.
There's no more, there's no hiccup,
Nothing.
like, it's just it.
Oh, Jessica.
Yeah.
Joseph, Jesse.
Just
Oh,
a
well,
letter
there.
And my dad spelled it wrong because he got it off of the
They
Joseph
just
Goldberg
like
8-track
K.
tape.
Oh, that's.
Well, they've gone through a lot of weird.
And it was spelled wrong on the
And he was
8-track,
like the
Oh.
sixth out of
Jesse Coulter.
seven, so, yeah.
Okay.
so
Now, I
that's
remember your dad.
why it's spelled wrong.
Okay.
Wayne, Wayne.
As in Cyrus Wayne.
Oh, yeah, I
There's the one on
that.
the other
There's,
side,
it's supposed to
too.
be an IE,
I, okay.
but,
Oh, okay.
yeah, you know, darn 8-track,
You know,
spelled wrong.
So would she prefer you over her parents?
Our marriage license
No,
49 years ago, and I looked at the.
depends on the time of day maybe, but no. At night, she'll go to mom way faster, or daddy, or.
We were always married on the contract, so we forced them on.
Now it's time for
We
your
just-
call.
I had a lady come in the
All
other
these
day.
years.
I had a lady come in the other day, and her driver's license
Yeah.
doesn't have her,
Her birthday?
birthday.
Oh.
Hey,
And
VA.
she-
Fashionably
the one on her
late.
driver's license is real, because we're putting
Oh.
on.
I
We
should-
didn't notice it the other day.
We went through that with my mother and
We
Aunt.
discussed it later.
I noticed you posted on
Went
Facebook,
through
you
one
know,
day.
beautiful
I had that
ladies, but
fixed.
the name
And I'm like,
Danielle.
I'm like.
See, date of birth now is your identity.
That
It
sounds
wasn't
like
back
me,
then.
that's even serious.
Who cares?
I don't know,
Got a
gotta ask
phone?
her, you know how that thing goes. Her opinion's one that's gonna ultimately matter.
Well, I was wondering, what was the one we just, I thought right across the page from what we just,
192.
What'd you say, Tim?
no,
You know, she lives at
shelter
Greenfield,
at a time of sorrow.
she's a traveling
What's the
nurse.
name
That's
of that?
correct.
Lord,
She's,
I thought we,
yeah, she primarily so far, she's been working on the north side of Indy, like,
Oh, she's working local, I'll say local.
yes, yeah, close to 2 years, there's like 5 hospitals and it's like that work. She just bounces
Oh.
between those 5.
what did we say for Sunday school? Can't find it.
What are the lyrics that you're?
Well, I thought I saw a shelter in the time of storm when we were singing, you know, Jesus is a rock in a weary, but I can't find it. I thought I saw it. Where's Virginia when you need her? assign you 3.
Well, there you
Is that
go.
what you want? Right across from
Six,
Lowe's.
There you go.
Oh, man.
God will take care of you, what you're saying this morning.
Right.
There you go. Go ahead. Good job.
Thank you.
It was teamwork. Thank you. Jesse and
Jesse.
I didn't know I didn't know my glasses on, so I thought this is a pretty exciting day.
well, as Dave said, I had laid this book out and then he picked it up. So if you subscribe to Guidepost, you probably are not going to remember this, as he mentioned, because it was written in 1922, well, maybe 2022. And it's written by somebody you might have heard of, is Amy Grant. And she says that life is full, this may not go well, life is full of surprises, says the beloved singer. So is faith. Do you believe in prayer? I do, she says. This is my 4th story in Guidepost. The first time was back in 1986 when I was at the onset of my music career. A story about loneliness. Part of a series Guidepost was doing on the subject. Loneliness was something many folks mentioned in their letters to Guidepost. Prayer, fellowship. I wrote about how I use prayer to overcome loneliness when it strikes. And it strikes just about everyone at one time or another. Even Jesus was lonely in the Garden of Gethsemane. The next story was in 2005. It was about giving and giving thanks, and how any act of generosity, no matter how small, truly makes a difference. My guiding prayer, Lord, lead me today to those I need and to those who need me, and let something I do have eternal significance. The third story in 2013 was about my dad's battle with Alzheimer's. He was a brilliant man, a radiation oncologist who was dedicated to his patients and to learning. It was simply inconceivable to me that a disease could rob this man I loved and admired so much of his intellectual faculties. I had to lean into prayer like never before to deal with it. Those stories mostly centered on the problems of others and how experiencing God's presence through prayer is always the answer. This story is about my own journey with medical conditions. That was discovered out of the blue 2 years ago. A heart defect that was about to change my life in ways I'd never imagined. In December of 2019, my husband, Vince Gill, who also happens to sing, had an appointment with his cardiologist, John Bright Cage, to go over some test results. I went with him. Vince got a great report. His heart was in good shape. Then Dr. Cage turned to me and said the strangest thing, most unexpectedly. Amy, I think I need to check you out too. Me? I didn't have any heart issues. In fact, most of my life I'd enjoyed a freakishly amount of energy. But recently I had noticed some shortness of breath while singing. Something I've been doing professionally since I was a teenager. And an irregular heartbeat that would occasionally leave me feeling dizzy. What's that? That's just part of aging. I trusted Dr. Cage and booked an appointment for the first week of January. He ordered one test after another. After each procedure, he'd send me a text stating, "Looks good," but then came a different kind of text. "Call me as soon as you read this," he said. I did. The radiologist who had done one particular test contacted Dr. Cage to say that my heart was enlarged due to heretofore undetected birth defect, something called partial anomalous, pulmonary venous return. You know what that is, Carl?
Say it again.
I don't know, I can't say it.
Oh, all right, don't say it.
Anomalous. Anomalous?
Yeah, it just means
Pulmonary.
they don't know what caused it.
Okay. Okay, it was a while before I'd be able to say that mouthful, obviously. Evidently, one of the veins that carries blood from the lungs to the heart was going to the wrong side of my heart, enlarging the left ventricle. "You're going to need surgery," Dr. Cage said to me, "open heart, and sooner rather than later." I had a busy few months coming up with an extensive concert tour and band and crew who were counting on that work. So I asked, "Can I wait until the summer?" "This condition presents as fine, and then becomes catastrophic," Dr. Cage said. "You'll need surgery before the end of the year." I hung up the phone, dumbfounded. I told my sister Carol. She remembered that when we were kids, the pediatrician would always take extra time listening to my heart. He talked about hearing a heart murmur. I had a vague memory of that. Up to this point in my life, I was 59. I'd never had any real health issues. Open heart surgery was a lot to wrap my head around. I was glad for the distraction of the 2020 tour dates that started at the end of January. I was also glad for the distraction of the 2020 tour dates. Yeah. And then the pandemic happened. Everything shut down for everyone. Concert tours, sporting events were the first things to be canceled. Vince and I found ourselves quietly holed up in our home in Nashville. The situation around the world was upsetting, and my prayers included all the people who were suffering. This sudden break in our schedule proved a hidden blessing for Vince and me. A hard time to say in the midst of such global tragedy. I spent long hours in our backyard, walking barefoot in the grass, grounding myself, feeling the coolness of the earth beneath my feet, savoring every single moment and every spring blossom and flower. I take deep breaths, meditating, feeling the breath of life that God breathed into us at the creation. Everything felt more precious since my diagnosis. I was sensing God in every moment, realizing that if I could learn to live this way, I could learn to live without fear. No matter what the future held, isn't that the essence of faith? By the time I was scheduled for surgery in June, I was probably the most rested I've been in years. The most rested I've been in years, physically and spiritually. Through social media, word got out of what was in store for me. It's amazing how many people are praying for you, Vince said. Thousands of them. I tried to read the responses, but there were just too many. I wanted to reach out and thank each person. I could feel the peace of everyone's prayers. I wasn't scared, not at all. It was like I had a West Texas wind at my back, carrying me through the entire process. When I was prepped for surgery, I felt so completely enveloped in the presence of God's love, in the love that came through all those prayers. That doesn't mean it was easy. The surgery was a success. Still afterward, I felt as if I'd been hit by a train. Tubes and wires were coming out of me in all kinds of places. I was bruised, my sternum was wired shut, and my chest was stitched up. Can't imagine. Really can't. The doctors said I'd be in the hospital for at least a week, typical for any open heart surgery patient. But after 3 days, I was feeling good enough to go home. I felt like a walking miracle, and I was. The 14-week recovery period was a discovery in how different a good heart feels. Gone was the shortness of breath. It was as though I had been riding a bike on two flat tires for the past few years. And now they were aired up and ready to go. Isn't that amazing? After the mostly sedentary 6 months awaiting surgery and the 3 months post-surgery, my mission was to regain and build stamina. I needed to do something to build strength and endurance. But what? I tried running, but starting that practice at 59 was not a good idea. My body felt old and defeated. My core strength had evaporated. Anyone who sings knows that the core strength is essential. About that time, we began gearing up rehearsals to relaunch the tour that had been canceled in March of 2020. I planned an ambitious 25-plus song set list. Dates were booked. The band and crew were ready. I was not. After the first rehearsal, I realized I could not make it through even half of the material. The fear was paralyzing. I imagined that this would be my final tour, limping my way through the songs each night, disappointing myself and anyone who had bought a ticket. I prayed a familiar prayer. Help me. The answer turned out to be right in my backyard. An old friend had come to visit for a few days, just the two of us in the house. We had so much catching up to do. Since it was summertime, after dinner I suggested, let's go for a nighttime swim and talk about the stars, or talk under the stars. When Vince and I bought this house, the pool came with it. I'm not a swimmer. I'd never made much use of a pool, and it was mostly just for the kids. That night, Cindy and I kept our heads above water so we could talk. Doing the backstroke, going slowly back and forth the length of the pool, visiting for 2 hours. Well, that was short, wasn't it? For 2 old friends. Most of us can visit for much longer than that. I wasn't even aware of the passing time. The next morning, I woke up feeling more rested than I had felt in some time. That's it, I thought. Swimming will help me recover my stamina and my voice. What a wonderful discovery. The magic of being in the water, the weightlessness of it all was freeing. In the water, I felt like a kid again, doing flips and somersaults, things I could never do at this point on dry land. The words "in him, Christ, we live and move and have our being" took on new meaning for me. With each lap, I felt myself getting stronger. Thus became the workout that I can't continue to this day. Going to the Y, it has a bigger pool. Swimming for an hour, using it as prayer time. I do breaststrokes, freestyle, side strokes, backstroke, and something I call the frog. Each stroke I dedicate to one of our 5 children, praying for them. I pray for every person who crosses my mind. There's an old saying, pray for yourself and you prayed once. Pray for someone else and you prayed twice. I pray collectively for all of us to experience the freedom and the potential of what is possible when we see ourselves as living, moving, and being in a reality of God's love. Who knew that a spiritual practice like this in the pool would come about at the stage of my life and of all things after open heart surgery? Life sure does have its surprises. That's what makes the journey of faith such an adventure. In November of 2020, I turned 60. I guess because I'm a hometown girl, the Nashville paper did a story on me. I gave the reporter permission to talk about my cardiologist, Dr. Cage. He said my condition would have likely killed me in the next 2 to 3 years if I hadn't had surgery. Reading those words, I immediately called Dr. Cage. Thank you for not telling me that. Though he said as much to Vince, he spared me the added anxiety. That's great bedside manner in my book, she said. Since my surgery, I've had an 8 p.m. alert on my phone, except when I'm performing. And yes, my voice is back stronger than ever. Pray for the caregivers, it says, for the people in hospitals and everywhere who care for the ailing and who had to deal with the ongoing stress of this pandemic. And for the good people God put in my life who helped and cared for me. After all, what greater form of care is there than prayer, especially when it comes from the heart? I was touched with this. This was just so neat to listen to someone who's so popular and so healthy looking when you first see her, and to know that she's gone through this and gone through it, and just there were miracles all the way through this story. Why did a friend come to visit? Why did they go to the pool? Why did she go with Vince to the doctor? It's amazing. So we take our time to pray. And let's do some of that right now.
I think her last day,
Her last day was Friday.
Friday, so her last day of school is Friday. and
Her husband comes
Jesse
home
made
Thursday.
her husband's coming home on Thursday, so. Also, I guess praises, Mom won the award last night. She was Hendricks County something. It's an award they're giving because of bicentennial for only 200 years, so apparently you gotta be pushing
Really old.
200 years to get it. But it was a good award. I mean, it's a great award, a great recognition for Mom and what she does in the community, so. What, Riley, Mood, Abney, they're having their baby today. And her and Doug, so prayers with them and the new baby that hopefully comes today and everybody's healthy. Or has come today, probably by now, so. Yep. Anybody else?
Safe travels with Catherine.
Yep. Anybody else? All right, do the Lord prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for the gifts and the blessings that you give us each and every day. Please be with those who need your help and guidance and carry them through. Be with Nancy. I know they had a great visit with her this week, and Janet. Be with Mrs. White and her family, and as she goes through her struggles. Please bring safe return for her husband to come home to be with her as well. Continue with Tracy McGee and his battle against cancer as well. Be with Riley Mood and Doug and the blessings that they're to have today and blessings of life. Be with Catherine and her safe return. Be with Bonita, she's in Florida, and her safe return as well. Be with all of our leaders, all of our first responders, all the healthcare workers, and all those each and every day that help to take care of us and do great things. In your son Jesus we pray. Amen.
We've been negligent of remembering Virginia and
Yeah.
Sharon.
Oh,
Yes, and please be with Virginia and help her to get stronger and be stronger as well. So,
And
yes,
Sharon.
So, and Sharon, we know Sharon had some surgery, and hopefully everything's going well with Sharon as well, for sure. So, yes. So, to get me this morning as a preacher, I'm not nearly as good as my brothers, for sure. I can guarantee it. So, I've been trying to. I'm not very good. VA does a great job. Bill does a great job of just coming up with stuff and seeing things to inspire them to do something at church. I don't know why. It just doesn't hit me, sometimes. So I have to really think hard about what I want to talk about when I do it, and whether short of finding just a story and guidepost or something like that, which I typically just try to do because I'm lazy and easy. But this is what I'm talking about, change. So hopefully you want to talk about change. And Mom said something, she was reading it, that Amy Grant said something about surprises, Sometimes changes are just surprises, but obviously change your life and do that, and I never thought about. Sometimes they're good surprises, sometimes they're bad surprises. But I've never been anyone really concerned with change. It's just part of what I do, and I don't mind change. I don't mind dealing with change. I somewhat enjoy it sometimes. Although people ask me where I live and where I grew up, and I'm like, well, I live within a 1 mile radius 54 of my 56 years. I don't know if that's good or bad. And I say I don't mind change, but I haven't moved very far either. So maybe I don't like change. I don't know. But anyway, I haven't changed churches, so I guess I haven't changed that. So, but you've all experienced change, good or bad. And Amelia fell asleep there finally. Luckily, I got her to go out right before I came up here, so we'll see if she gets a good nap in. And obviously Amelia and Cyrus and changes in people's life. And I talked about our friend Riley, who's having a big change in their life, and Hadley and Jesse are obviously adjusting to their change and how they deal with that. And Cyrus, I'm sure, crying halfway through the night or whatever it might be. The same thing, some of those changes, maybe you wanted a boy, maybe you wanted a girl, or maybe you didn't want a baby, but oh my, I've got a baby, But I think most of us in here at least can, sometimes look back and think, well, there's a reason I got the girl or I got a boy, instead of what I thought I wanted, you know, and Drake's probably one of those people, I would imagine. And he got what he needed and definitely, she has him wrapped around his little finger, to say the least, you know. And of course, you know, again, we're doing a lot of changes, you know, Chloe and Austin are getting married, and that's something coming up in our life. You know, and that's a change and a compromise, whether you're buying a house and he wants a garage, or she wants a bigger kitchen, or whatever it is. Sometimes you gotta compromise on those changes. Let alone Drake and Abby are trying to figure out what color to change the house color, you know, inside. So, you know, some of them are big, some of them are that, and then there's the change, you know, Drake walks in his house the other night and the ceiling's leaking in his garage. So he was hoping to work all day on paint. Well, nope, his change came because water's running through the ceiling in his garage. So, and he wasn't praying to God very well that night, either, I will say. Which I think we've all been there, that those weren't the thoughts going through our minds when something like that's going on and you got water hanging out or something broken or going on as well. You know, then there's the big changes in life that, you know, sometimes you see them coming, whether it's the aging of your parents or a loved one. Not that mine are getting older, they're just like they were 30 years ago, but, you know, my cousin Jay, you know, but my cousin Jay recently, you know, had to deal with, you know, has had tons of changes in his life, and it's all gradual changes, and you see them, but just like with Bill and Nancy, and obviously Bill changed quicker than any of us dreamed, and you know, the change with Nancy and the things he's had to go through, and I know him especially, and we talked about it, resilience, you know, testing your resilience, and is God really there some days, and you know, when the phone calls are coming from the doctors, and two doctors, and trying to move people and that, I know he's had a lot of changes go on, and you know, but the same token, God's with you, you know, and Jeremiah 29:11 talks about, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, but plans to give you hope and a future. And I know sometimes it's hard to see some of that through some of the things that happens, and that's when I think we all look and some of those bad things happen. We're like, are you sure that was your plans for me? Because that's really not what I was looking for. But at the same token, I know we've all looked back. Sometimes the big changes that happen, or some of the surprises, or even bad changes, I guess, whether it's a death or something like that. You look back and you try to find what was the good in that, what changed that. And you know, I've never had, I mean, there's been death in my life as far as grandparents and things like that, you know, it happens. I mean, we all know it, you know, sooner or later that's what happens. But you know, when I was 8, how old was I, like that, 20, when my Uncle Mike passed away and passed away at the farm, you know, that was a life-changing thing for our whole family, you know. And at the time, it's terrible, still terrible today, you know. But I you know, I've lived across from the farm where he died, you know, how long was it, in 89, so, a long time ago, 35 years ago. And wonder, would I live in the house I live in if that wouldn't happen, and raise 3 kids and do those things, you know, it's, you know, you never want something like that to happen. Or would the neighbors that live there now had the opportunity to raise their families on that place where we grew up, you know? You know, some people call it the silver lining sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, I don't want to call it that, but maybe that is some of it, you know, maybe that's the things happen. You know, I mentioned it last week in Sunday school, said it to Jesse, and Jesse's ex-husband's father-in-law, I don't know what
Kent.
we'll call it Kent.
Just call
We'll
it.
just say Kent. You know, Kent passed away, was hit in that tragic accident there at 240 and 40, right there in Stilesville. And I mentioned to Jesse, we got a call last week at Sunday school, we got a call from the sheriff, Dave, that lives in the house right there, and we got a call because we own part of the property on that road, and Co-Alliance had got a call from the sheriff wanting to close that road. And you know, I said last night, you know, last week, we'll never know if Kent's death saved. It probably will. I mean, I hate to say it, but Kent's death is what it's going to take to save other people's lives if they're going to close the road. I saw a commissioner this week, and she confirmed it's probably closing. It's already on their docket. They've heard about it. I said, make sure that happens. And she was like, oh, that's probably good. So, but anyway, it's stuff like that, you know, it's what's in God's plans. And, you know, we never want tragedy like that to happen, but sometimes that tragedy leads to stuff that takes years and years, and sometimes we'll never know. Kent's one of those, we'll never know what happened and what did it. We've all seen those things in our lives that we never know. what God's plan was, whether we liked it at the time or not, because we really don't like it at the time, I can tell you that. And, but, you know, I've mentioned, and I'll still not gonna tell you everything that's going on. I mentioned a few weeks ago, asked for prayers for Electric Plus and things going on there. And we have some big things going on there, some big changes that, it's getting announced this week, so that we're on YouTube, so I better not say anything, because it'll be the one time somebody watches YouTube. Tell everybody what I did, so, it's a good change, it's good things. Yeah, there's nothing bad, very good, but still hard changes that we're doing and making, you know, hopefully Electric Plus better and that, but, you know, but as I was reading this, you know, I ran across the serenity prayer, which I think many of you have heard before. You know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, which was written by Reinhold Niebuhr, a Lutheran theologian who lived from 1982 to 1971, part of a sermon in 1943. And then, of course, Hallmark took it in 1962 for graduation cards, so that's really why you know it's because Hallmark made it a really thing. But, you know, I was reading that prayer, and if you go a little farther and deep in the prayer, you know, it says, God grant me the serenity and the peace and the peace to accept the things I cannot change. And sometimes that peace is good, and sometimes it's bad. You know, sometimes we don't necessarily want to accept those changes, but we need to. You know, give me the courage to change the things I can. Because we always know there's things that are changed, or would like to change around us, and sometimes we don't have the courage to do. But God gives us the courage and the strength to make those changes. And then there's the wisdom piece, and I know I miss the wisdom piece a lot. You know, the wisdom to know when it is something you can change or something you just need to accept. And sometimes that change is even hard. And again, I'm a quicker preacher than my brothers too. But as I close, I want to leave with you Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.
You know, Tim, you mentioned the change and changes coming that maybe you didn't want to see or things, and I think about over my lifetime, changes I did want to see that never took place, right? And then 6 weeks or maybe 3 years later, you look back on that change you were really wanting to see happen that didn't, and you're like, okay, I get it now. You realize that you're better off that the changes you wanted to see happen didn't. And, coming to grips with change is going to happen with or without you, and so how you handle that. This is something I know I've had to battle over.
$6.92.
Thank you. Are you kidding me? That's what I just turned to.
I'm sorry.
She just heard
I just turned to.
No,
I'm like,
telepathy,
Yes.
man, we're on the same
Telepathy.
track.
and then I'm like, well, didn't we just sing that? I'm like, no, I don't guess so. Or if we did, we're gonna do it again. Because it certainly is applicable. Would you like to stand and turn to 692? Dear Heavenly Father, as we sing these words, let us remember to take them to heart, that you will take care of us if we just allow you in our hearts and in our minds to give you that control. We think we can take care of everything, and we're so good at taking care of business, but we know that you are really in control. And help us remember that. Not day by day, but hour by hour and minute by minute. And we are so thankful to have you in our presence. Amen.
You ready to travel this week?
Sunday, Bob and I are going to New Mexico.
So tell us what your award was.
I bought about 3 years ago at a
She told me.
benefit auction. One of my friends had a ranch in New Mexico, and they let